I remember the first day I come here, and I know some of you do too, and I looked out and there was that kind of a crowd, and I just about went back down to my table. So we've learned a little over the years, and been great times working with SARM. I don't know if any of you had a chance, I know you were in convention yesterday, but one of the real bright spots in the country right now in the province is agriculture. It's just a good time to be a farmer or rancher, much better than at least it has been. I don't know if you saw yesterday an announcement that came out, and it had to do with ag exports in Canada. And usually Ontario, of course, they are a big exporting province, and they're the largest province with exports, and then Alberta, and then we were always third and quite a bit behind. Well, along with a lot of other things that's been starting to lead the way in this country of Saskatchewan is ag exports. Yesterday, or the numbers that just come out, we've hit over $10 billion in the province of Saskatchewan. We've passed not only Alberta, but we've passed Ontario. That's to the good work of you people out there. And you have to realize you did this, you grew all these products in spite of having 2 years ago 10 million acres that weren't seeded, and this last year, 2011, 8 million acres that weren't seeded. That's a tremendous feat. That just goes back to the improved farming practices that you people have brought on, whether it's on the grain side, the livestock side, all of those things, but you play such an important part in our economy in the province of Saskatchewan. Just want to take a minute this morning and tell you a little story. I was in Estevan the other night, and for those of you that were there from councils, bear with me because I thought this was maybe worth telling again, but there was a lady went into a pharmacy, and she said to the pharmacist and looked straight into his eyes and said, "I want some cyanide." And he just kind of stepped back and he said, "What on earth do you want cyanide for?" And she said, "I want to kill my husband." The pharmacist just panicked and he said, "I can't give you cyanide for that. I'd lose my job. I'd go to jail." "You'd go to jail?" "Oh, I can't do that." So the lady stood there for a second and reached in her purse and pulled out this picture. And the picture is, she handed it to the pharmacist, and the picture was of her husband and the pharmacist's wife in bed together. And the pharmacist looked at it for a minute and said, "Oh, you should have said you had a prescription." And in rural Saskatchewan, I can almost see that happening. You know, I thought today, and when I wrap up today, you're going to understand why I think it's a good time to maybe review where we've come from over the first 4 years of our government, and now we're starting into the second term. And you know, I don't want to be repetitive, but I'm going to be today. Your organization has just been tremendous to work with. Your board of directors and Dave and your staff at SARM are just a class act. And I remember shortly after Brad put me in as ag minister, your people were at the door, and of course they were asking for something. It goes on and on and on. But it was in such a cordial way, and we've had that open door policy where they can come over to my office, or just in a heartbeat they'll phone, and we go over and find out what it is that they're looking at. And I know in so many different initiatives that we've done, your organization's played a big part. So this morning I just want to review some of the things that we've done. You know, the education tax certainly didn't happen just by government alone. It was lobbying on, you know, from organizations like yours. That was for how many years did we sit in this hall and, you know, we were asked that something should be done with the education tax on ag land, and to a degree we've got, I think, a great part of that dealt with. So, you know, one of the other things we did was we brought ag stability back to Melville, and I think we've made some improvements there. I think it's somewhat better and certainly got room to go further, but I think it's, you know, improved from where it was. Remember that the compensation for wildlife damage used to be at 80%, and we went to our federal counterparts and tried to get that to 100, and we couldn't, so we decided that was so important. We did it provincially. And new program, the predation program that we brought in, and this is one I had a pet peeve with myself when you get calves or sheep or anything like that that are killed by predators out there, and everybody likes the wildlife out there, but yet it seemed that farmers, we paid the price. So where you get compensated for calves that are killed and things like that, I know it doesn't solve all the problem, but hopefully it helps a little bit. Some of the other things that we've done with your advice and your recommendations is expanding extension services. We have 10 new offices in the province. Just want to go back to when we first came into office, and if you remember, the cattle industry and the hog industry was really up against the wall, and one of the first asks we had was, can you do something, even a loan program for cattle? So we had the $71 million cattle and hog support program. I don't have to remind you about the excess moisture program, the SAS feed and forage program, and the pasture recovery initiative. And some of these aren't big things, they're small, but I hope they've helped in a little bit of a way. The other thing I think that we've done a number of things along with your advice is crop insurance, where I think we've made it a bit stronger than it was. There's certainly probably room we can go further. And in my mind, I know from my past as farming, and I didn't always carry crop insurance because at times I felt for the premium I had to pay, it really wasn't worth it for where I was in my farming operation. And I know many of you, or probably some of you, are still in that spot, but we're trying to improve that program. And we did that review where we brought in about 12 changes a few years ago. And then we got to 2 years ago in 2010, and I know there's some of you from the Foam Lake and Rama area over into Melfort and then over into the northeast corner that I don't have to tell you what flooding was like that year. It was just terrible. So we thought after that maybe we'd get through that in 2010 and things would improve, and guess what? Instead of totally improving, they moved over to my side of the province, and it went from bad to worse. And everybody from the Weyburn, Estevan, all around that corner right up to Yorkton, I think knows exactly what I'm talking about. We've been wet before, but we've never seen water like that. So, you know, and with the advice, of course, again, of your organization, and something has to be done to help producers out here. We changed the crop insurance program, went from $50 to $70 on the unseeded acre side, but I'm fully aware that input costs have rose so dramatically. I think that was part of the reason that I could justify to my cabinet colleagues and the Premier that additional help had to be there. $70 didn't cut it, and you have to realize that it's quite a performance as Ag Minister or any of the other ministers that here, when you get an idea in your mind and you really like it, you have to remember that not everybody else may be totally in agreement with you. I have had occasion in the legislature where not one of my colleagues would meet me in the hallway. They'd all go down a different alleyway. And I think that's why some of them are up here this morning, because when I finish today, you'll know what I'm talking about. Anyway, we went from the $50 to the $70, and I hope that helped a bit. But this year's crop insurance program, we've made some changes, because I don't know about you, but you know, I know at time to time we need an ad hoc program out there that kind of backfills when the programs that we have aren't suffice. So we've made some more changes to crop insurance, and I know many of you have saw your contracts already, and we've gone where you've got the $70 as a part of your package, your contracts, and now you have the option of an additional $15 buy up to $85 an acre if you see that might work for you, or you can even go further for a $30 increase to that, and it's a 50-some cents for the $15 and a little over $1 to go up to the $100 coverage where you would have been with ad hoc. And with that, I have to tell you this morning, and I talked a bit about this last year, but we didn't go all the way, but ad hoc will not happen this year. So I recommend everybody in this room take a good look. If you're not in crop insurance, please take a good look at the program. If you're in the program, make that decision on behalf of your farming business out there. Is the $70 going to work for you, or do you want to buy additional coverage? And you know, I hope nobody comes back after and said, well, you should have told us that there would be no ad hoc. I'm afraid I'm telling you this morning, so I don't know how to put it any differently. So, and I know I have a lot of colleagues here this morning for some reason, and every one of them I think is smiling a little bit this morning. I didn't think he'd say that. So anyway, that's where we are with that. You know, crop insurance, and it's really to do in part to grain prices improving, and this is a great problem for us as a province to have, where this is the highest amount of dollars that we've ever put into a crop insurance program in this province, about $177 million provincially, and then of course our federal counterparts put in, and I know your premiums have gone up with that, but it's a good problem to have when our grain prices have gone up, and then of course there's some changes that have been made that cost a few more dollars, just like the excess moisture or the unseeded acres coverage that we have in the crop insurance program. So some of the other things that we've done, and some of you are aware of this, remember when the Southwest was in a drought for about 4 years, and we brought some of these things in because to try and deal with some of those situations like yield cushioning and some of those types of programs. One of the other changes this year, we've increased establishment benefits for oats and canary seed and fall and spring rye and triticale to up those dollars for that coverage. Some of the things I want to talk about this morning that I know are important to many of you out here, and the first one is the grain bag recycling. And what I want to talk about this morning is we had that pilot last year, and that seemed to go over really good. We recycled about 275,000 pounds. we're going to continue that program this year, and I'm announcing this morning $210,000 to extend that program for another 2 years, and then maybe we can build in a program with the companies in that and make it work for everybody out there. PCAB will handle that for us as they did last year, and they've done a very good job there, and we want to thank them with that. The Moose Jaw River watershed storage part, we're going to work with them again. So that's 10 sites additional that we'll have this year. I think we had 6 last year, so we're expanding that for 10 collection sites. So I think that should work a little better, and if you have any advice going forward of where we could improve that program, we'd certainly look forward to that. I want to talk this morning a little bit about beavers, and I know we had a tremendous problem in our area last year, and we put in the $500,000 and asked SARM to administer that for us, and I really want to thank you for doing that. I know there's some RMs in this room that spend an awful lot of money on beavers and would have liked more dollars out of it, but that was the $500,000 that we give to SARM to handle that program. What I'm here today to tell you is we're going to do it again this year and ask SARM if they would continue to administer that. About 35,000 beavers, to the best of our records, were taken out last year. So if we can do that again this year, maybe we'll start to improve on that and reduce the damage that the beavers have caused across this province. Rat control funding announcement. I know this has been a concern in pretty well every area of the province, and I know grain bags to a degree kind of add a little bit more to the problem. But on rat control, we know that good work being done on every RM across this province, but I just want to announce this morning that we're going to give you an additional $250,000 and bring that up to $1 million. You know, it used to be that all our kids would go to Alberta, and they always said over in Alberta that they're rat-free, and I think the only reason they could say that is they sent them over to Saskatchewan. Haven't things changed in the last number of years? Our kids are coming back, and if I had my way, we'd send the rats back too. And I don't mean that in a derogatory sense. Alberta has been a really good neighbor to have. The wild boars, I just want to touch on that again, and I know some of you still have problems out there with that issue, and we're going to put another $50,000 in, and again, I want to thank my people from SARM here, the directors and Dave and all the staff for handling that for us. So all the good work that SARM does, and you know, today is a day I want to talk a lot about SARM, and all of you as RMs out there. I know I go back, I don't know if or probably the representatives from the RM of Rudy are here this morning, and I remember we had a real problem, and those of you that watched the late news on a number of occasions didn't do any of us farmers out there any good when there was cattle starving in an area of this province. But why I bring that up again is the good work that you do as RMs, and the RM of Rudy was just, they were super. Like, it could have been a real nightmare for me, and it wasn't a pleasant situation, but it certainly wasn't for the councillors in Reeve at that time for the RM Rudy. And they took the bull by the horns and worked with us and dealt with that situation. You know, those are some of the situations that people don't give you enough credit for out there. You don't make a buck at this game. I know what you get. I was there once, and there's no dollars at the end of the year that you come out ahead on. So you do a lot of this volunteering and because you're interested in your community. And that's just one example of the many examples of the great work that you do on behalf of your people within your RMs. You know, I've been your ag minister for the last four and a half years, I guess, and it's a privilege that I couldn't even have dreamed about 17 years ago when I first got elected. It was amazing at that point to go from being councillor Reeve and then an MLA, and the learning curve went straight up. I remember walking up the steps of the ledge, and I'd never been there, and I had a briefcase that had nothing in because I wanted to look important. And I got to the guard, and I didn't even know they had a guard in that place, and he said, "What are you doing here?" And I said, well, I think June Drowdy was with me because she didn't know where she was going either. And we walked up there and we said, well, we're Liberal MLAs. Oh, he said, you go here, here, and here. And you know, we were lost for about 2 years in there. It's something, some days I would like every farmer in the province to have that opportunity to be as the Minister of Agriculture. It's a real experience. You know, we have really good days, and then, oh my God, we have some bad days. But the good days lately have certainly outweighed the tough days. And all you have to do is look at the grain prices yesterday again, and they're moving up again. And you know, I watch those things. I watch the weather. I watch the grain prices, all that stuff as Ag Minister closer than I ever did when I was farming. I should have watched them closer then, but I certainly watch them now because they're so important. So I don't know how to tell you this, but it's a little bit of a tough one for me today. I've been here 4.5 years, and I'm getting a little long in the tooth here. And you know, sometimes you have to make decisions that are just best for you. And I'm going to be a little selfish here today. I want to take this opportunity here today to announce that I'm stepping down as Ag Minister. It's been a great experience. I appreciate the Premier giving me the opportunity to serve as your Ag Minister, and all the great colleagues I've had. And you know, these are people that I would have never met if I hadn't been in politics, and I think most of them are here this morning, and I thank them for that. But at some time in our lives, you know, when as you start to get a little older, I got 6 grandkids, and you know, as a cabinet minister, you know, it's hard to explain how many hours we put in and how much on the road, and I know my colleagues in cabinet will back me on this. And I can't speak for the other portfolios, but I do know Ag, we have a lot of banquets on weekends, and a lot of things like that goes on, and you don't get home every weekend. And you know, as you start to get older, you value things of your family a little more, and my grandkids to me are the best thing that have ever happened to me. You know, with my kids, I regret now I didn't spend more time with them, but we were all busy. You know, I was playing hockey, they were playing hockey, we were doing all these things. I love grandkids. You can have them come and visit, you can wind them up, and you can send them home. And I know my daughter in Eston will just appreciate that to no end. So with that today, I'm not going to belabor the issue this morning. I just want to tell you what a class act you have of an organization and a staff here, and the work that you people do for us as a provincial government in this province. And I know whoever by the way, I'm staying on. You're not getting rid of me quite that quick. I'm going to stay till the Premier has a realignment of cabinet, probably end of May, end of June somewhere. But it's been a great time working with you, and I know whoever the replacement is, if you give him the cooperation and the friendship and the advice, and I know you're going to give him advice, or her, please carry on that relationship. It's been tremendous for me, and it's been an experience, and I've met so many great people. So thank you ever so much for having the opportunity to be your Ag Minister.